Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a little pre-show. A little hanging out. I looked at the clock and realized I've been toying around with stuff for half an hour trying to make things work, and I was like, I should just go live and hang out with y'all, because the show isn't that special. It's just me talking into a microphone. I don't need to overcomplicate it. It's February 8th, and oh boy, welcome to whatever this is. It's your daily escape from your newsfeed to join your fellow homebodies to talk about all the stories that no one is talking about. The global health crisis is extremely important, with over 119 million vaccinations worldwide and 35 million in the United States, and I'm advising you to use the amazing online resources to keep you and your community safe and informed. But here on Homebodies, we're going to leave all that to the experts, and I invite you to turn it off for an hour and talk about something other than the one thing everybody is talking about with your fellow Homebodies on our daily show. And you can join the conversation in our Discord channel and even call into the show at homebodies.live. That's homebodies.live. And I am actually only going to be in the Homebodies Discord today. I'm not going to be on the Restream chat in YouTube and Facebook and all the other places, because if you notice this weird thing on top of my head, I'm actually streaming both as an avatar inside of Mozilla Hubs as well as over live video. So that's taken up a lot of bandwidth, but I wanted to be able to show you all something during our future stages, and this is a workflow I've been doing in rehearsals for a new musical called Virtual Happy Hour, the musical, brought to you by True Producer Group out of New York City for their benefit performance. So anyway, I'll be in the Discord today for the chat, for your responses, for your involvement. Please throw me some Nova News, throw me some links, some thumbs up, some emojis, some hellos. Doing a staged version of iRobot. Yes, Spencer, that's what we're doing today. It'll all make sense later on. But I hope everybody's doing well, and I just want to kind of get the show going rather than sitting here setting up the show. Coming up in the show, we've got some Novid News, our viral news stories not about a virus, and the future stages, the peek behind the digital curtain to the experiments in virtual storytelling, and the thing that's on my face right now. We'll get into that later on. Inviting you on the stream real fast. I'm going to actually go live and start the show, but I figured let me just invite people in, get them over to the Discord, homebodies.live, get the dialogue going, the conversation started, and then I can officially do the thing. And to that end, this is why I need a producer, is I might as well start a room in Clubhouse, see if anybody shows up on this day. Oh, I just started a room without, darn it, in the room, give it a topic, make live streaming as a robot. Setting the topic, why not, and hitting start. Let's go. Starting that conversation off. There's this. And I'm pumping in. Yes, music mode. Hello, Angelique. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I can barely hear you. Your sound is really bad right now.
Oh, my sound is really bad?
Yeah.
Is it better now?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Can you hear music?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's the important part, right?
I have no idea. I was like, what is this? I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this room. Let's see what happens.
Excellent. Excellent. We got Brian joining the room. Hello, Brian. Followed by the speakers. Goodness, I should follow Brian back as well. Oh, this is more Clubhouse action than we're used to getting. I'm just pumping some jams before I go live on my daily show. If you want to join in, it's the Homebodies, homebodies.live. A little escape from the news feed. Where are you, Angelique, in the world?
I'm in Tennessee, outside of Nashville currently.
And how is that? Do you all have snow?
No, we don't have snow, but it is supposed to snow a couple days next week. I'm currently looking for a way out of Tennessee.
Oh no! How long have you been in Tennessee?
3 years.
3 years.
So, yeah.
And 3 years is that's your breaking point? You ready to move on?
Apparently. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where do you want to go to?
We're looking at coastal.
Coastal. All right. Well, you're very close to one of
Yeah,
the
so
coast.
either
You could
back
just
to
drive in like 8 hours.
So either back to California, or we are looking at Massachusetts, um, near Nick's family. So
Nice. Well, Spencer, who's in the chat, is from Massachusetts. So there's homebodies everywhere.
well, see if he knows anybody that needs a really smart social person.
Social person as in like has interpersonal skills, or social media?
Considering you know what my resume looks like, social media.
Absolutely. But you're talking to other people. I figured I'd promote you a little bit.
I know.
Tell what you're all about.
I know. All the social, all the time.
Absolutely.
How are you liking Clubhouse?
I don't know yet. I've seen a lot of I've been in a lot of clubhouses. I've chatted a little bit. I feel a little weird because a lot of people I know have joined, and then it does the thing where it basically says like, welcome them in, and I click to open a room and it's like, they're not here. Or it's a bunch of other people, other friends of theirs that got the same message, but they're not there. And it's kind of like showing up to a surprise birthday party where no one knows anybody else and is just waiting for the person they know to come. And everyone's like, so, hi, okay. But it's cool. It's basically Twitch for podcasting, right?
Yeah, I mean, I found that it's a very, like, the diversity on this platform versus some other platforms is really interesting. And I did a South by Southwest room last week with some friends, which was really cool. But I'm really liking the diversity and just the internationality of the rooms. I thought has been fascinating. I don't know, from a case study standpoint, I'm intrigued. I'd like to see where it goes from here.
Where do you think it should go, or what do you think the intention for growth would be?
I mean, I think it's doing really well. It has a lot of priority. I'm a little concerned, like, how is it going to end up making money?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
obviously they're going to have to figure out a way to monetize, whether it's charging for subscriptions or running audio commercials during things. I mean, and from a branded standpoint, it's really, unless you're doing some sort of thought leadership group where you're having experts like experts come in to talk about a specific topic, brands don't necessarily have a place on the platform yet, unless they do some sort of monetization. So basically, like, if you're like having an ad in a podcast only, it would be a live chat.
Right.
You would just have to pause the entire chat to have like an audio commercial, or is it something that pops up on the screen? So it's more banner ads. It'll be interesting to see how they take it once they run out of money.
Right. Do you think it could go the Substack route, where basically I subscribe to your room or your feed, and you then bring in different speakers or different conversations, and I'm basically subscribing to that, and it's kind of microtransactional by personality? Or you think it's more a paid service, like an enterprise solution?
I think it's going to be more of an enterprise solution because they're not going to make any money really on the micro level. Not enough to sustain the developers and all the other pieces it requires to have a large scale social. I mean, or are they just going to sell it off to one of the bigs?
Right.
Like, is their whole
Is that the goal?
Yeah. Is their whole goal to build this and then sell it off to like Facebook?
Gotcha.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything much from Twitter Spaces yet, but that seems to be the only real like competitor in the space.
Right.
Or the potential competitor. I mean, I'm definitely finding Clubhouse more interesting than, say, TikTok, which I still say feels very much like a Vine clone.
Yes, 100%. Well, it's Musical.ly, right?
Yeah.
Which was at the time a Vine clone, adding the like karaoke feature.
Yeah.
Because that was the Gregory brothers, right?
I guess so. I mean, that was never big enough to really be like something I had to consider for any of my clients.
Right. But well, now it is.
So.
Right? Or are people not interested in TikTok? Like, that's fascinating to me. You have more the corporate lens on what people actually want to invest in.
So TikTok is fascinating. I mean, for my brand, I'm looking at I have to look at a much older audience. And TikTok really grew over quarantine. A lot of people bored on their phones, so it grew a lot very quickly. But from a enterprise level and brand safety level, there's no way really to monitor or engage on a large scale. Like it doesn't, because it doesn't have an open API, I can't pull it all into Sprinkler or any other like content management system like that. So because of that, I don't necessarily recommend putting ad dollars on the platform until I can protect the brand better.
Interesting.
Unless you, yeah.
No, this is such a unique perspective, so thank you for being willing to tell me about it.
No problem. I know I'm just, I like talking about this type of stuff. I think you can tell I haven't been able to do any panels or anything lately because you got me started.
Well, so to that note, because I am actually genuinely fascinated by your reaction that you had that the microtransactions aren't really meaningful. Can you speak to that? Like when we look at things like Patreon, like is that actually not a sustainable business model, and they're just kind of propping it up? Or I'm fascinated in this as like smaller creators versus really relying on the old guard way of like a big spend in a known blue chip market.
I think Patreon, because of who was ultimately behind the platform, like it had celebrity behind it. I can't remember wasn't it the guys from Paramore?
It might have been. I don't know.
I can't remember. It was some music group behind, like basically created it. So it had like more of a, what's the word? It had some cachet. But I can't imagine, like, think about how much people are still burnt out on Kickstarters and all of that type of stuff.
Right.
I can't imagine it's sustainable long term. And then for a platform like this, if people are charging you'd have to charge because, okay, so as a creator, how much would you have to charge knowing that they would get a cut of it? So the platform would only get a small cut of whatever you're charging. I don't think it's sustainable on a grand scale like that.
Gotcha.
They would make much more money working on an ad module, something like Spotify ads, or what people have been doing in the more programmable audio ads in the podcast world and stuff.
Gotcha. And how do you think you would communicate and convert the value of a Clubhouse room? Like, what would an advertiser's value be on this? Would it be have kind of a broad approach to the entire like homepage landing or a banner ad, or would it be individual influencers and rooms? Like, how would you determine the value of this? What would the AdSense be on, this 3-person conversation that nobody's listening to?
Well, I think it would have to be a combination.
Yeah.
So
hey, Chris.
So I think it would have to be a combination. It would have to be a banner ad takeover situation, and free and what is it called? Pre-roll almost ads in pre-roll and mid-roll ads of larger conversations, probably things that are more scheduled with the schedulers having X amount of follower counts. So almost kind of like on the influencer model, and probably for brand safety, people would have to be able to say, like, yes, I want to be a part of rooms that are talking about this, but I like the brand doesn't feel comfortable being in rooms that are talking about this.
So it's a Twitch model or a YouTube model.
Yeah. I think that would be, and then it could also go the way TikTok's doing some really cool stuff in how it's connecting creators and brands. So is that a model that might end up working on this type of platform? So you're directly, like the platform is directly connecting the people with the brand, and then they're like the middleman, like basically the money people. The money's being funneled through the platform for like sponsored rooms or sponsored sessions, etc. It'll be interesting to see how South by utilizes the platform, and is it like, do they do anything official, and are there some sponsored stuff, or is it more of a back channel? I don't know. It's still in its infancy, so we don't know where it's going to go, but it's fascinating to discuss.
Well, Angelique, I am so grateful that you jumped into this room with me. Again, this is the Homebodies, homebodies.live. We are live streaming, and I just joined Clubhouse to, like, see what that was all about. And I just got, like, this amazing information from Angelique, who is actually trying to update that resume and find another job. So if you are looking for someone with an extensive background in social and all the trends and how to leverage your company, Angelique, where can they find you? Where they hire you, throw the money at you?
You can find me on most platforms at Angelique Toski, Toshi, my maiden name, on Twitter, or on LinkedIn. It's /Angelique LaRue. So I'm pretty easy to find me.
Can you spell LaRue for us?
LARUE.
Perfect. Thanks for chatting. I just want to give, I know it's kind of a free form here, and Chris has joined the room as well, so I want to make sure that he felt like he could chime in. Just so everyone knows, this is the Homebodies, homebodies.live. I try to go live every day to kind of escape my timeline and talk about something other than the one thing everybody is talking about. And I jumped into Clubhouse today. Actually, Chris asked me for one of my invites to Clubhouse last night. So how's it going, Chris? How are you enjoying it?
Thanks. It's been pretty good. It's been pretty cool. You know, it's definitely it's funny how in a lot of ways I heard people saying beforehand that, like, oh, it's like being on a conference call but not for work. And it's kind of funny because the way that the audio sounds, everyone is on their phone and stuff, so it does sound like a conference call. But of course, everything that's being talked about is usually more interesting. Yeah, no, it's been like it's just been like drinking from a fire hose, at least the first day, you know, like you know, I joined a room and there were, like, you know, 100 people in it, and they would just sort of popcorn around, and each person would talk about what VR or AR thing they were working on recently. And yeah, it's just been interesting to sort of just like soaking it all in, kind of.
That's awesome. From a monetization perspective, because that's what Angelique brought up, Jared in the chat says, how do you justify a pre-roll, mid-roll in today's rapid click away environment, as opposed to, say, a lower third or key phrasing per the influencer methodology? Chris, do you have any concept about, like, where this grows or how this scales?
As in, like, monetizing Clubhouse?
Yeah.
I mean, has Clubhouse, like, actually put anything out about, like, ways to monetize things? I feel like some of it's probably going to have to come from them, I imagine.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess aside from that, you could probably, you know, like, play some sort of an ad or do a sponsor read like people do on podcasts, I guess. You know, in the middle of something. I feel like because it's so social, that, like, social in the sense that, like, everyone can talk, I feel like some sort of custom would need to start around that, or like an expectation of, like, oh, when the moderator starts reading a sponsor, everyone gets quiet for like 30 seconds, lets them do it. This is a thing that people do, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I guess there could be a massive mute button. I mean, just looking at, like, my options right now, I can end the room, I could leave quietly, people can raise hands, I can add someone to the room to ping them here. But yeah, it doesn't seem like I can just go, like, quiet everyone. And it would be interesting as the creator of the room if I could basically be like, hey, I've got to mute everybody for 30 seconds while I do this chat, or like a disruption button if, like, a fight breaks out or, like, the conversation gets a little out of hand. You can kind of be like, all right, putting everybody in timeout for 30 seconds while I reset the room and the energy.
I did see that they have actually, like, don't do this, obviously, but they have a like long press to perma-block option,
Okay.
which, like, blocks people from Clubhouse. They have, like, a zero tolerance, like, anti-trolling policy, which is understandable. But yes, they actually, apparently, I haven't hosted a room yet, but apparently they do have some pretty, like, strong moderation tools, which is probably good.
When I click on your name, I can start a closed room together with you. We can go off and do our own thing, Chris. I can view your full profile. I can make you a moderator. So I guess there is a distinction right now between you as a speaker invited onto my thing and I am the moderator. And then I can move you to audience. So I could be like, that's enough of Chris, and move him to the audience. So yeah, there are some built-in tools there.
And that's how you mute everyone, or you start off with everyone in the audience and then permission out after, or you kick everyone to the audience for you just can't do it en masse currently.
Right.
But if it's something like a recorded pre-roll or something, it could be like there could be a countdown, like 10 seconds, and then you would hear the pre-roll, and then the conversation would start up again.
That's true, which is kind of how like the streaming on Twitch, the mid-rolls on Twitch and YouTube work, right? Where it's like it's not pausing the stream, it's just basically now you're on a 10-second delay because you watched a 10-second ad.
Yeah.
Something else you could do. I mean, like I've seen some people sort of blurring the line between podcasts and a Clubhouse room by like, you know, having a small panel that then also is recorded and sent out as a podcast.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And and I think that like something that you could do you know, would be to basically use Clubhouse as a sort of like to do like a call-in show kind of like what you're doing right now. Exactly. But like, you know, where you've got an audience there and you know, it's pretty much just maybe the moderator who maybe you've got like two people who are the hosts of the podcast and one person who's the producer and watches the line of who's raised their hand and then brings people on and they can be like, hey, first time, long time, you know.
You are describing radio. You are describing talk radio.
Well, yeah, but
I love it.
Yeah, I think it could just be a new way of doing that.
Right.
I mean, like, a lot of people don't like calling phone numbers and stuff, you know.
I had a bunch of people call back at the beginning of the pandemic. So I started this podcast out of my closet because I've done live radio before. And I was like, oh, I've got the tools to just kind of connect this together. And so I bought a burner phone app number and had that as the call-in number during the hours of the show. And we had some really great conversations, but we also definitely got trolled. It was very fun to have some crank calls. And I gotta say, modern day prankers, like the youth disappointed me because they expected me to get far more derailed, and I was willing to go with it. I was excited to see what they brought creatively, and they didn't get there. So if anyone wants to come into the Clubhouse and crank me, I guess I've now invited that.
Well, I'm gonna be the not so fun person that says read the terms of service, because I've heard rumors that recording Clubhouse conversations is against the terms of service.
Oh,
that's cool. So wait, even if I have the permission of the participants, I can't record what I'm doing inside of Clubhouse?
That's what I've heard. I haven't read all the terms of service yet, so don't take it for gospel.
Right.
Because my idea was I was like, you could totally use this as a podcast tool to have more like live conversation.
Yeah.
Especially during something like the pandemic. But what I was told was, that's against the terms of service.
You know, I wonder how that works with like recording consent laws in different states.
Right.
That might be why.
Because Maryland is a one-party consent state, so this is fine on my end, but I have no idea what goes on in California.
Right.
Oh.
That is interesting.
I don't know. I mean, we're all cool with Brendan recording this, so you know, from our perspective,
we're breaking the law together. I like it. So when I get kicked off of Clubhouse tomorrow, we'll all know why.
Well, I mean, but I know other people that are doing it too. So it's interesting because it is it is a wild west. It's like when people they still do it, but we're doing it so much more of posting pictures that they didn't take and claiming it as their own on Instagram, or content like posting memes on Facebook without crediting the owners and stuff like that. I mean, it was more of that in years and years ago when it was more wild westy, and this currently still is. So
right. I guess that to me though, there's a difference between using a tool like Clubhouse as the curation device for your content, you know, versus taking someone else's content without consent and using that as your content.
Yes. No, agreed.
But it's fascinating. Like, again,
that
to your point, it's always the Wild West. I feel like it's been the Wild West for a decade. I'd really like to know when we're going to get into town and just, you know, put up the horse for a little while and put up our boots and actually get to enjoy.
I mean, just a decade?
What?
Just a decade?
No, it's been more than a decade.
Years.
At least 15 years. That's true. But I just feel like as far as the general populace becoming content creators with ubiquitous tools, I feel like it really wasn't until I would say 2012 was the hot spot that suddenly everybody became a YouTube creator. And then Vine really had its moment. And now I really think TikTok has taken that to a whole new level. From where I sit.
2012 was a big year for smartphone adoption.
Yeah.
That was I first got a smartphone in 2011, and 2012 was the year that I graduated from college. And right when I graduated from college, I went to Thailand to teach for 2 years. And that was also the time where a ton of people got smartphones across the world all at the same time. And while I was there, I was like, man, people here really like just staring at their phones a lot. And then I came back to America and I was like, oh no, it's everywhere. It all just sort of happened all over the place.
Chris, you just made me feel so old.
Angelique, there's age is fine. We all exist in a vacuum.
I graduated from college 9 years before him.
So you've got a decade of experience.
Yeah.
That you can bring to the table.
I'm sorry. I'm
turning
40 this year and I'm having some age issues.
Totally. I totally get it. But 40 is the new 30.
Yeah.
I am going to, speaking of treating something a little more formally, I'm going to take a more official break and move into a different segment of whatever this show is. But I'm so grateful that you both joined me in this room to have an impromptu chat about the business model of Clubhouse. Thank you so much for doing that.
All right. See you around.
All right. Take care.
Ciao.
All right, that was fun. What an experiment, joined by Angelique and Chris in Clubhouse by just hitting a button and apparently violating the terms of service. We'll figure out what that is. I might actually look more into that, but that it wasn't where I was planning for the show to go today, but that's what's beautiful about the Homebodies is wherever the Homebodies are, we come to them, and the conversation ensues. In the chat, it's good to see Spencer. Hello, Jared. I know there's a couple other folks on other platforms, but I'm not monitoring those platforms. So if you want to join the conversation, you can go to homebodies.live. That's homebodies.live. We've got a live show chat in there, as well as a call-in queue, which I am allowed to use to bring people on the show. So you can feel free to join that call-in queue, and then we can chat about whatever you want to chat about. My intention was that if you remember last week, I actually, on the stream, had you all help me begin to set up a lobby of my virtual reality theater, kind of as a living museum of our show that we did last October. And then we hosted a bunch of people there, and so I figured I would actually take you all through it. That's why I started with the avatar on my head today, but then I tried to log inside the room just now, and I couldn't change that avatar to one that's mouth would actually flap, and I was pretty annoyed that, like, y'all were having to just see this floating head without actual mouth movement. So I can still take you through the experience, but I am disappointed that I'm not able to do more. So I'm just going to fly this out of the way real fast, this green screen. And this is... Where's the microphone? Oh, dear. This is the theater where we held the Jettison play, and we've also staged a bunch of other events over the last couple months. And this is the overall like outdoor area, so you can come, attend, get used to the controls, and then enter the actual space. So I'm going to fly into the lobby on my headset, and then I'm going to walk in on the desktop so that you all can actually see what I see in here. Oh, that whole time I thought I was sharing, and I wasn't because I'm super organized. There it is. That's the theater. And we'll just go ahead and walk in on the keyboard on the desktop so you can see what's going on. Coming into the lobby. And the chroma key filter is still on this, so it's just going to have to bear with that a little bit. And so you all helped me place, there's this lamp that's keying out right now. There's the water over here of the boat. There's the rabbit. You all helped me kind of stage these items earlier in the show, and then I built nameplates to kind of explain what they are. So this bunny is actually a spawner issue. This is something we found on the stream that we were like, oh, that's a fun way to like let the audience click on it, and then they get their own bunny that they could play with and kind of understand how we used it. And gravity applies, so the bunny will fall to the floor. You can throw it against things. It's quite fun. Our general set design, again, the blue here is keying out just because of my green screen settings. right now. But what you can see, let's see, maybe I can turn that off real fast because I'm not actually keying out my avatar anymore. There we go. So you've got, what I basically did was take a sliver of, our stage 4 was a water texture. So we treated that like a fabric swatch so that you get a sense of like how that works. So we've got our water swatch here and the small version of the boat in the middle. So it's kind of like seeing a baby model of the set. And then if you look at this angle, see how this light, this point light, actually reflects on the water. So this is a trick that we did to be able to add lighting to the scene as more baked lighting rather than an engined light that was actually like taking up a lot of CPU. So this is still costing something, quote unquote, to run in the room, but it's not nearly as heavy as an actual light, like dynamic real-time lighting that's affecting the room. So that was a way that we were able to add light to certain areas, make the environment look a little more official without putting 30 lights in here, because really you can put like one. We got our posters of our actors on either side of the room. Here's a copy of the script, and then I've got instructions for how the actors actually held the script during the show. So if you hover over this, if you're inside on your keyboard, you hold down spacebar. If you had controllers, you'd hit A, and then you can hit clone, and it gives you your own copy of the script that you can take around. I can do the same thing and delete that, or I can hit this magnifying glass, and it actually puts the script down below me, kind of like cheat sheets or like notes, but no one else in the room can actually see this. So if you were an avatar in the room and I had this script in front of me, you wouldn't see it. So it's a great way to have the book, the text, the script in front of the actors in case they need to reference a quick line, scoop it off the page, but it doesn't get in the way of the stage picture. And then if you look down at your feet, you'll be able to see the X to make that go away. Over here we had a donation bucket for actors. Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. Right now this link is broken. Let's see if we can refresh it. But this goes to the donation page of that institution. If we come around this side of the lobby, see, I lost my music here, so let's give myself a little something. If we come around here, we've got our avatar quick change costumes, and what I basically did was put all the avatars from our show right here so that you could hover over them. And when you click on that, it immediately changes you like a costume change into that avatar. So this is, we put these backstage and the actors could immediately change into costume, or if an actor couldn't be there during a rehearsal or a staging or a technical moment of us trying to figure something out, anybody could just throw on the costume and we'd be able to see the characters in the scene. So now, walking around as we do, there's my headset avatar still hanging out. And go over to this side of the room. And this is where I talked about the two different modes of storytelling, which came out of a lot of great questions from my fellow homebodies, helping me kind of understand what people would want to learn more about. And what we did was we had live video that was composited in on a screen that we were able to manipulate using JavaScript. So we would actually inject Java code into the browser of our stage manager. And the way hubs works is when something happens on one browser, it tries to populate that on all the clients, or basically all the people logged in. So if I add a bunny in my room, it's going to add the bunny in your room. So if I inject JavaScript that moves a video feed, it will then in your room try to sync up with that. So that was a way that we were able to kind of get around some of the functionality that isn't built into this platform using live video. And then of course we had our avatar performance over here of them just actors in headsets, seeing each other, working with each other, pretty much just like real theater, and able to pass around 3D props, be in the 3D boat, interact with the world and each other in real time, and hear each other. It was amazing. It was basically like being in the rehearsal room all over again, which is very fun, especially in this time. Going into the theater itself, so we've got this kind of theater in the round vibe. We have the boat floating in the middle. Obviously, the water kind of creeps up through the 3D model. So ignore the water in the bottom of the boat. But this is where the actors were able to stand. If I hold down spacebar, we have these little icons in the middle of the room that allow you to basically teleport to be an actor, but it also, those avatars are larger than the normal audience avatar. So that allowed our actors standing in the middle of the room to be larger, take up more space, be better seen by the audience surrounding. And similarly, we have these same waypoints in each chair. So when I hold down spacebar, I can click, and I'm now seated in that chair. Or I can decide I want to sit in this one. It's a better seat. So this was the, kind of living museum interactive lobby of the theater. This way, even if we are not there to help walk someone through or onboard somebody, they could just show up and hang out and kind of get a sense of how we made the show and what we did and, how it all works. So that is our future stages today. I'm so grateful to all of the homebodies for helping me figure this out. Basically, hey, what would you want to see? And asking questions and showing things on the stream. And it was really fun to build it with y'all because so often I have to build this stuff by myself, kind of no feedback in real time, no collaboration, and it's a lot more fun to collaborate. It's fun to work off of people and hear what other people want to do. We'll take a quick little break, come back with some fast Novid news. I don't see any in the Discord chat, but go ahead over to homebodies.live, homebodies.live, and throw some Novid news in the Novid news tab. Otherwise, we'll rattle off what we got trending when we come back. Oh boy, welcome back to the Homebodies. a live show, talk, pod, something, stream thing coming to you from the California closet. Most weekdays on a completely irregular schedule. You're welcome for that. It's been a very weird show. It's been fun. Hello to everybody on all the other platforms. Today I kind of prioritized Clubhouse because I was not expecting it to go quite so well. I've been adding Clubhouse to our stream the last couple days, but the platform really became popular last week. So today, suddenly we had a great conversation about the actual usefulness and monetization of Clubhouse, the platform, and I actually learned that I might be breaking the terms of services by making it a call-in portion of my own outside podcast. But, you know, what are you going to do? Take away the money I'm not earning from Clubhouse? We also just went through my future stages, my virtual reality theater, and the Homebodies helped me design the lobby of that to be kind of a living museum of the show that we did there last October, with the objective to maybe remount it at some point. And let me know in that chat if you would want to come to a theater performance in virtual reality. And would you want to see the actors more as avatars, or would you want to see them as live action videos streamed into a 3D space? Let me know in that chat. Of course, you can always join the conversation at homebodies.live. That's homebodies.live. But without any further ado, we've got to get into
No Vid News. Viral stories, not about a virus.
checking in with my own personal timeline, my own Novid news. This is the 8th day of bringing back the Homebodies, which I did for 40 consecutive shows last year before I pivoted into a bunch of other work nonsense, and then I missed y'all. I wanted this community back, so this is our 8th show back in 2021, trying this new format of the show. Let me know your thoughts. It evolves with you. Discord.live. It's my 334th day of full quarantine and 348 days since my life completely derailed when I myself got sick and had to become an indoor cat, and then we all became indoor cats. The thing that I could find trending the most right now is the same-day streaming initiative coming from HBO Max in the US only for 31 days from a theatrical release, basically same day releasing on screens and on HBO Max as part of their initiative to drive content towards their subscriber service. People have mixed opinions about this, but obviously a lot of folks that are unable to go to theaters, something that I miss terribly. It's cool to be able to now plug that in and actually watch new releases the day they come out. I did this with the Wonder Woman 84 on Christmas morning, and it was a delight. I wasn't doing anything else. I wasn't going anywhere else. Might as well see Gal Gadot be a badass. It was amazing. So let me know if you... I do miss the theater experience, but since we can't have it right now, why not be able to still get it anywhere? Daniel Day Kim and Daniel Wu are offering $25,000 for info on the attack of an elderly man in Oakland. Actors Daniel Day Kim and Daniel Wu are trying to find the person responsible for a violent attack in Oakland's Chinatown district. They say this is part of a larger pattern of aggression that is happening and that often goes unaccounted for, particularly to the Asian community. And I think this is fantastic. I think that any way that we can advocate and stick up for people, this is true vigilante to me, is that like they're not taking anything to their own hands. They're not doing their own investigative reporting. They're not, putting on bat suits and beating down doors. Although I would watch that show. That's a good show. Daniel and Daniel, I'm telling you. But the fact that they're basically saying, look, we got to help out our community. We'll chip in for the any information that leads to having some accountability and leading to a possible arrest. Knocking things over. It is...
COVID-19, the top viral stories, not about a virus.
It is the 20-year anniversary of California Adventure. If you're not familiar with the theme park, I mean, why would you be? We don't have theme parks anymore. It is a very special place. Controversial opinion, I actually find California Adventure to be better than Disney World. Disneyland? Disney World. Disneyland. Either. I like the extended universe. I especially like... The rides there I've been more partial to. I actually really like the Cars ride. I think that might be one of my favorite rides. Of course, this comes on the heels of us talking about how they are no longer doing the local SoCal Pass, where you can basically like pay for 2 times essentially going and then have a bunch of dates to go whenever you want. So you got to pay a premium if you want to go celebrate the 20-year anniversary. Speaking of this kind of news, Disney is bringing back 500 of the 1,500 laid-off employees from their park, claims many of them are already working in downtown Disney as part of an initiative to bring their employees back. I have mixed feelings about this. I think it's fantastic. I'm glad we're bringing people back to work. I don't think there should be a lot of people at downtown Disney right now. I want to be very clear that I don't think that's a great idea, congregating. I guess there's parts of it that are outside. It is large enough you could distance, but let's be honest, people are probably not doing that. But I also think it was very weird earlier in the pandemic, and I think that this was a larger kind of conversation that we still haven't come up on, is that so many companies, yes, lost a lot of money, were impacted and hurt by the shutdown. However, the basic immediate response was to lay off their employees. And now they're bringing them back as we're nearing the other side of it. And in some ways, we enter this conversation of, well, why are people kind of investing in your company if you're not invested in them during the hard times? In some ways, if it's just feast or famine, if when things are great, it's great, and when it's bad, then I guess pay me for a premium when you're making a lot of money, and I'll work for you, and then we can both just say peace whenever things aren't great for one of us. I don't know. It's a tough situation. The wealth gap is so wide, but I think in some ways it almost borders on predatory that, like, are you an employee if basically at any time they can be like, peace, because what else are you going to do? And then we'll re-offer you your job because what else are you going to do? That doesn't seem to be an equitable relationship, but I don't know. I'm also a guy that is desperate for a job right now. So, you know, all things being equal, I can have my values all I want, but I would like a job. Maybe I'll be at downtown Disney. Spencer in the chat, I know that you had this terrible layoff earlier in the last year, and then you just started your job again, I believe. So I would love to hear about that dynamic of, are there any weird feelings of this concept of like at any time, like was that part of the conversation in you coming back? I would wonder. It's like, hey, we know that we kind of bailed on you and put you in a bad spot. Is there any accountability, or is there any structure in place that it's like, hey, I need more notice next time if that's going to happen again, or we need to set up, you know, kind of boundaries or parameters of when, if I'm going to come back and work for you, that's going to happen? Or is it just, it's an employer's market because everybody needs a job and they can basically do whatever they want and la-di-da-di-da-di-da. I'm throwing on some music. Spencer is responding and typing in the chat, which I'm grateful for, because I know it's a sensitive thing to talk about. Oh, don't get me started on the wealth gap and predatory capitalism in modern America. We can leave it at that. You do not need to give me your opinion. Otherwise, you can jump in that call-in queue, Spencer, and we can chat about it. I'd love to have an honest conversation. My job was a temp one, so it comes with the territory. Totally understand that. Having worked for many, many temp jobs, temping was always a very weird concept to me, and I feel like as the creative economy has changed so much in the sense that now, I'm trying to remember her name from I May Destroy You, but like they wouldn't give her like a 5% ownership of her show, which is crazy. And eventually, like the person at Netflix that was helping her with the deal was like, look, they should be caving on this. You should go somewhere else with this content. And she did. But at some point in time, we get to a place that's like, you're not offering enough for this to really be meaningful. Why am I going to make you a bunch of money if I'm not ever going to be the beneficiary in that? I think that's a weird conversation to have constantly again and again and again. And that's how I've always felt with my temping work, is I felt like it was kind of a lose-lose, because I was getting paid minimum wage, but I knew that they were charging the company I was working for a premium for me to be there. So I was doing the job as if it was this amount of money, but they were expecting from me like double that amount of money for this temp agency to make a bunch of money. And it was kind of like, no one's going to win in that situation. I mean, the temp agency will win for as long as that can go on. But at some point, it's weird for the company to think that they're transacting with someone for a much higher rate than that person who's actually doing the labor is going to be like, well, this isn't a $20 an hour job. It's a $10 an hour job. Spencer says, I'm a hardcore socialist, so if you want to get into it, I'm more than happy to. I don't know, we could wind down the show with some socialism, some light socialism. I'm down with it. It's all about the homebodies. Whoever is a homebody stuck at home, you can jump in the conversation at homebodies.live or homebodies.live. Michael Morin in the chat on YouTube. Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. Feel free to join us and join the conversation. How do you feel about our no-vid news before I wind down the show? No one else has joined our Clubhouse, but we did have a very robust conversation when I first got started, which while I wait to see whether or not folks want to jump in on this very sticky conversation, we can return back to same-day premieres. If there's just something you're excited about watching same day digitally as you would in theaters, you can let me know. But I am curious about, in the structuring of the show, when it comes to things like Clubhouse, do I just add a new room for each segment? Like, would we do it for No Bid News, and then I'd close the room, and then we'd come back for future stages, and I'd close the room, and that way it kind of opens up a dialogue around that specific topic? And the same with, like, streaming. Like, should I be breaking these up into individual videos, or is there something nice about just, like, hitting play, sitting back, we go through a couple different topics, they're broken up into clean segments, so if you're like, I don't care about the No Bid News, I can skip it today, let me know. Do you want more structure, more reliability? Like, I want to know at 1:30 we're talking about No Bid News because that's what I care about, or the future stages at 1:45. I'm going to come at 1:45. That's all I'm going to listen to. Godspeed to you. I'd love to know. I mean, this is how I structured the show when I first got it started last March. That's when we started the show, right? Last March. We're in the Discord community. Y'all helped me really kind of find and massage the segments and craft them into little digestible things and see what worked and what didn't. We dropped a lot of stuff that I thought people would really like, that I was like, oh, no one wants to talk about this. That's fine. And then there was other stuff that I was like, oh, like the language lab, that people were like, Brendan mispronounces stuff, and we'd like to turn that into a whole weekly segment. And it was fun to have y'all call in and help me mispronounce things. Spencer in the chat says, the working class is constantly in survival mode, and so is the middle class more and more. And so they'll take any job they can, which is great for capitalists and business owners because they know they don't have to pay them the true worth of their labor. Yes, I agree with that, but I guess that inherently isn't sustainable. Like, we fundamentally know at some point that breaks, right? Like, because at some point, it isn't worth it for me to starve for you to thrive. And if the options are starve and do nothing, or this is actually a conversation maybe I could be more personal about. Like, I made a real shift in 2008 where I was working for a lot of other people and making very, very little money, kind of in this like startup mode of creativity and development and IP and content. And I suddenly realized, like, if I really look at the numbers, I'm making the amount of money as if it was like a part-time job, but I'm putting in like 60 to 80 hours a week. And if I put 60 to 80 hours a week into my career and my work, and then just figured out how to get like a part-time job, it would all come out in the wash. So it didn't make sense for me to work for a bunch of other companies or big creators to make them money that I wasn't the beneficiary of, or give them IP that I didn't participate in, when instead I could literally work for myself for free, and then go get a small side hustle that basically paid me the same amount of money. Like, there has to be a threshold at which point you've got to be able to say, well, for you to do a job that's going to allow us to actually turn a profit, we have to pay you something. But I don't know. I recommend checking out the YouTube channel Second Thought because they go really in depth about it, better than I ever could. All right. So there's a recommendation, Second Thought on YouTube. I'm sure that's a rabbit hole I'm going to fall down into later on. Speaking of rabbit holes, we've certainly gone down one today. Thank you so much to everybody for helping me escape my newsfeed and the one thing that everybody is talking about, and just distract myself for a little bit. We kind of ping-ponged a little bit, but it was fun to talk to people on YouTube, on Discord, on Clubhouse. This is neat. We should do it again, maybe, sometime, like tomorrow. Maybe see you then. All right, this has been the Homebodies. Take care of yourself, be kind to each other, go create something, and I'll see you tomorrow on the Homebodies.